chapter 85, subject spiritual instruction for Vasudeva and return of 6 dead sons to Devaki by Lord Kṛṣṇa. It is a Vedic custom that the junior members of the family should offer a respect to the elderly person every morning, especially the children or the disciples should offer their respect to the parents or the spiritual master in the morning. In pursuance of this Vedic principle, Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma used to offer their obeisances to their parents, Vasudeva along with his wife. So after returning from Kurukṣetra, performing the sacrifices, one day when Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma went to offer their respect to Vasudeva, he took the opportunity of appreciating the exalted position of his sons Krishna and Balarāma. Vasudeva had the opportunity to understand about Krishna and Balarāma from the great sages who assembled in the arena of the sacrifice. Not only he heard from the sages, but in many occasions he actually experienced that Krishna and Balarāma were not ordinary human beings, but were something very, very extraordinary. Thus, he believed the words of the sages that his sons Krishna and Balarāma were the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, on this fond faith on his sons, he began to address them as follows, within quotation. My dear Krishna, you are the Satchidananda Vigraha, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and my dear Balarāma, you are Kṛṣṇa, the master of all mystic powers. Therefore, I have now understood that you are eternal. Both of you are transcendental to the cause of this material manifestation, said to be the material nature and Supreme Person Mahavishnu. You are the original controller of all of them. You are the rest of this cosmic manifestation. You are the creator, and you are also the creative ingredients of this cosmic manifestation. You are the master of this cosmic manifestation, and practically this manifestation is for your pastimes only. Different phases of this cosmic manifestation under different time formula from the beginning to the end are also yourself, because you are both the cause and the effects of this manifestation. The two features of this material world, namely the predominator and the predominated, are also you, and above them the Supreme Transcendental Controller are also you. Therefore, both of you are beyond the perception of our senses. You are the Supreme Soul, unborn and unchanged. The 6 kinds of transformation of the material body has nothing to do with you. The wonderful varieties of this material world are also created by you. And as the Super Soul, you have entered in each of them, even within the atom. You are the vital force of all these manifestations and the supreme cognition of all of them. As such, you are the maintainer of everything. The vital force which is acting as life principle in everything, and the creative force derived out of it are not acting independently, but behind all these forces, you are the Supreme Person. Without your will, they cannot work. Material energy has no cognizance. It cannot act independently without being agitated by you. Therefore, material nature is dependent upon you. As such, all endeavors made by any living entity can be attempted by them only, but without your sanction and will, they cannot be performed or achieve the desired result. As such, the original energy is emanation from you only. My dear Lord, the shining of the moon, the heat of the fire, rays of the sun, the glittering of the stars, lightning of electricity, which are manifested as very powerful, gravity of the mountains, the energy of the earth, its quality as flavor, all of them are your different manifestations. The satiating taste of water, the vital force for maintaining the life are also your features. Water and its taste are also yourself. My dear Lord, the forces of the senses, the power of thinking, willing, and feeling of the mind, strength of the body, movement of the body, growth of the body, although apparently being performed by different kinds of ventilation of the air, ultimately they are all manifestation of your energy. The outer space and its vast expansion and rest is yourself. The vibration of the sky, its roaring, its expression, and the supreme sound, Omkar, and the arrangement of different words to distinguish one matter from the other, their symbolic representation, everything is yourself. The senses, and to purpose of the senses to acquire knowledge, its subject matter and its controller, the demigods, all of them are yourself. The resolution of intelligence and sharp memory of the living entity are also yourself. The egoistic principle in ignorance, which is the cause of this material world, the egoistic principle of passion, which is the cause of the senses, and the egoistic principle of goodness, which is the cause of different controlling deities of this material world, as well as the illusory energy or Maya, which is the cause of manifestation of the conditioned soul, whereby the conditioned soul is perpetually transmigrating from one form to another. All of them in total is yourself. My dear Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the original cause of all causes, exactly like the earth is the original cause of different kinds of pots, trees, plants, or similar varieties of manifestation. As in everything, the earth is represented. Similarly, in everything of this material manifestation, you are also present there as Super Soul. As such, you are the supreme cause or cause of all causes, eternal principle. In fact, they are all manifestations of your one energy. The three qualities of material nature, Sattva, Raja, Tama, the result of their interaction linked up with you by your agency, the Yogamaya. They are supposed to be so, but actually the total material energy is resting upon you, the Super Soul. You being the supreme cause of everything, the interaction of material manifestation as birth, existence, growth, transformation, deterioration, and annihilation are all absent in yourself. Actually, your supreme energy, Yogamaya, is acting in such variegated manifestation, but because Yogamaya is your energy, therefore it is to be supposed that you are present in everything. Quotation close. Next paragraph. In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is very nicely explained in the 9th chapter, wherein the Lord says that in my impersonal form, I am spread all over the material energy. Everything is resting in me, but I am not there. This very statement is repeated in this connection spoken by Vasudeva. Fact is, the all-pervasive nature of Krishna and his presence as Supreme Soul is more or less imagination of understanding. He is not present everywhere, means his energy is acting everywhere, whereas he is aloof from everything. This can be understood by a crude example that in a big establishment, the energy or the organization of the Supreme Boss is working in every nook and corner of the business, but that does not mean the original proprietor is present there. Although in every department and every atmosphere, the presence of the proprietor is felt by the worker. Presence of the proprietor in every department is formal only. Actually, his energy is working everywhere. Similarly, the omnipresence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is felt in the action of his energies. Therefore, the philosophy of inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and defense from the Supreme Lord is confirmed everywhere. The unity is the Lord and the diversities are his energies. The diverse, this material world is a big river flowing as the waves of three material modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. This material body, senses, thinking, feeling, willing, distress, happiness, attachment, lust, all of them are different products of these three qualities of nature. The foolish person who cannot realize your transcendental identity above all these material reactions continues to remain in the entanglement of fruitive activity, subjected to the continuous process of birth and death without being freed from the clutches. Present clause, expire. In the Bhagavad Gita also, this very thing is confirmed by the Lord in the 4th chapter in a different way, that anyone who knows the appearance and activities of the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa becomes freed from these material clutches and goes back to home, back to Godhead. Kṛṣṇa is not, therefore, by his transcendental name, form, activity, quality, a product of this material nature. My dear Lord, despite all these defects of the conditioned soul, somehow or other, if somebody comes in contact with devotional service, he achieves this human form of body with developed consciousness of civilization and thereby capable senses to execute further progress of devotional service, and still they do not utilize this advantage of human form of life, illusion by the external energy, and thus misses the chance of eternal freedom and unnecessarily spoils the advancement of ages, the bodily concept of life, and thus being attached to the offsprings from the body based on false egotism. Everyone in this conditioned life is entrapped by a false relationship and affection. The whole world is moving under this false impression of material bondage. So I know from the very beginning that both of you are not my sons, but you are the original chief and progenitor personalities of Godhead, known as Pradhana and Purusha. But you have appeared on this surface of this globe in order to minimize the burden of the world by killing the Kshatriya kings because of their unnecessarily increasing military strength. In the past, you have already informed me about this. My dear Lord, you are the shelter of the surrendered soul, the supreme well-wisher of the meek and humble. I am therefore taking shelter of the lotus feet, which alone can give one liberation from the entanglement of material existence. So long I simply consider this body as myself. Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, still I consider you as my son. My dear Lord, when you first appeared in the maternity home, at that very moment I was informed that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but you had descended for protection of the principles of religiosity as well as for the destruction of the unfaithful. And as such, although unborn, you descend every millennium for serving your mission. My dear Lord, as in the sky, there are many forms appearing and disappearing. Similarly, you also appear and disappear in so many eternal forms. Who can therefore understand about your pastime, mystery of such appearance and disappearance? Our only business should be therefore to glorify your supreme greatness. Next para. When Vasudeva was speaking like that, addressing his divine sons, Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma were smiling, and because they are very much affectionate to their devotees, they accepted all the appreciation of Vasudeva in a kindly smiling attitude. Now he began to confirm all the statements as follows. My dear Father, whatever you may speak, after all, we are your sons. Whatever you have spoken aiming at us, certainly highly philosophical understanding of spiritual knowledge. I accept them in total, without any exception. Production close. Next paragraph. Vasudeva was in complete perfection of life, considering Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma as his sons. But because the sages assembled in the pilgrimage of Kurukṣetra spoken about the Lord as the supreme cause of everything, Vasudeva simply repeated them in connection of his love with Krishna and Balarāma. Lord Kṛṣṇa also did not wish to disturb his relationship with Vasudeva as father and son. Therefore, in the very beginning of his reply, he accepted the fact that he is eternal son of Vasudeva and Vasudeva is eternal father of Krishna. After this, Lord Kṛṣṇa informed his father about the spiritual identity of all living entities. He continued to say within Kurukṣetra, my dear father, all of you, including myself and my brother Balarāma, and all the inhabitants of this city of Dwarka, and all the cosmic manifestations are exactly like what you have already explained. But all of us, living entities, are qualitatively one. Put some close. Next paragraph. Lord Kṛṣṇa intended Vasudeva to see everything in the vision of a Mahabhagavad. And the first-class devotee. Because a first-class devotee sees all living entities as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. In fact, every living entity is spiritual identity. But in contact with material existence, he becomes influenced by the material modes of nature. He becomes covered by the concept of bodily life, forgetting that the spirit soul is of the same quality as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spirit soul is illuminating all of them of the same quality, unattached by the material modes of nature. Simply being covered by the material body, one misconsiders one individual is different from another. Or because of a difference of bodies, the spirit soul appear before us differently. Lord Kṛṣṇa gave in this connection a nice example of the 5 material elements. Total material elements, namely the sky, the air, the fire, the water, and the earth, are present in everything in the material world, either in a earthen pot, or in the mountain, or in the trees, or in the earring. Everything, these 5 elements are present in different proportion only. My mountain is a gigantic form of these 5 elements, and a small earthen pot is of the same elements, but in a proportionately smaller scale. Therefore, all material items either a different shape or different quantity. They are of the same ingredient. Similarly, the living entities beginning from Lord Kṛṣṇa, including the Vishnu Tattva, millions of Vishnu forms, then the living entities in different forms, beginning from Lord Brahma down to the small ant, all of them are of the same quality, spirit, somewhere representing a greater quantity and somewhere representing a smaller quantity. But qualitatively, they are of the same nature. It is therefore confirmed in the Upanishad that Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, is the chief of all living entities. He is the maintainer and supplier of all necessities of life to all other living entities. Anyone who knows this philosophy is in perfect knowledge. The Vedic version, Tattamosi, thou art the same, does not mean, however, that everyone is God, but everyone is qualitatively of the same nature as that of God. Next verse. Vasudeva, after hearing Krishna speaking the whole philosophy of spiritual life in a very shortcut nutshell, was exceedingly pleased upon his son, and being too much engladdened, he could not speak anything but remained silent. In the meantime, Devaki, mother of Lord Kṛṣṇa, who was sitting by the side of her husband and who had heard before that both Krishna and Balarāma was so kind upon his teacher that he brought back the teacher's dead sons from the clutches of the superintendent of death, Jamaraj. Since she heard this incident, she was also thinking of her own sons who were killed by Kansa, and while remembering them, she became overwhelmed with grief and began to request her sons as follows. Very feelingly, in compassion with her dead sons, she began to appeal to Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma as follows. My dear Balarāma, your very name suggests that you give all pleasure and all strength to everyone. Your unlimited potency is beyond the reach of our mind and words. And my dear Kṛṣṇa, you are master of all mystic yogis. I also know it very certainly that you are the master of the Prajapatis, like Brahma and his assistants. And you are the original personality of Godhead, Narayana. I also know it as certainly that you have descended to annihilate all kinds of miscreants who have been misled in course of time, therefore have lost patience, control of the mind and senses, fallen from the platform of the quality of goodness, and deliberately have neglected the direction of the revealed scriptures and living a life of extravagancy and impudency. You have descended to minimize the burden of the world by killing such rulers, people on the earth. My dear Krishna, I know that Mahavishnu, who is lying in the ocean of causal origin, of cosmic manifestation, and this whole creation has been possible by simply expansion of your plenary portion through the exigency of the material energy. The creation, maintenance, and alienation of this cosmic manifestation is being effected only by your plenary portion. I am therefore taking shelter of you without any reservation. I have heard it that your teacher, Sandipani Muni, lost his son and he was dead since a very long time. But when you wanted to reward your teacher, he asked you to bring back his dead son, and both you and Balarāma immediately brought him from the custody of Jamaraj. Therefore, I take you as the supreme master of all mystic yogis. I am therefore asking you to fulfill my desire in the same way. In other words, I am asking you to bring back all my sons who are killed by Kṛṣṇa. And upon your bringing them back, it will be a great pleasure for me to see them once with my heart's contentment. Lord Balarāma and Krishna, after hearing their mother speaking like that, immediately called for the assistance of Yogamaya, started for the planetary system known as Sutalok. Formerly, in his incarnation of Bhavan, king of the demons, Bali Maharaj satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead by donating him everything he had. King of the demons, Bali Maharaj, was given the whole of Sutaloka for his residence and kingdom. Now, when Bali Maharaj saw that Lord Balarāma and Krishna had gone there as a great devotee, he became immediately too much engladdened and merged in the ocean of happiness. As soon as he saw Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma in his presence, immediately he, along with all his family members, stood up from their seat and all to all bowed down on the lotus feet of the Lord. King Bali Maharaj offered Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma the best seat he had in his possession, and when both of them were seated comfortably on the seat, then he began to wash the lotus feet of the Lord. The washed water was taken by him along with his family member on the head. The water washed up of the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma can purify even the greatest demigods like Lord Brahma. After this, Bali Maharaj brought many valuable garments, ornaments, sandalwood pulp, betel nuts, lamps, and various kinds of foodstuff, tasting like nectarine, and along with his family members, he worshipped the Lord just in the regulatory principle and immediately offered his riches and body unto the lotus feet of the Lord. King Bali was feeling so much transcendental pleasure that he began to catch the lotus feet of the Lord and keep them on his chest repeatedly, and sometimes he kept them on his top of the head, and in this way he was feeling transcendental bliss. On account of this, tears of love and affection began to flow down from his eyes, and all the holes of his hair became erupted. Now he began to offer prayer to the Lord in a voice which was being choked up at intervals. Next paragraph, within quotation. My Lord Balarāma, you are the original Anantadeva. You are so great that originally Anantadeva, Shesha, and other similar transcendental forms of yourself had emanated from you. And Lord Kṛṣṇa, you are the original personality of Godhead, having your eternal form, all blissful and full of complete knowledge. You are the creator of the whole world. You are the original initiator and propounder of the system of Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. You are the Supreme Brahma, original personality of Godhead. I therefore, with all respect, offer my obeisances unto both of you. My dear Lord, for the living entities, it is very difficult to have the opportunity of seeing you. But still, when you are merciful upon some of your devotees, it is not at all difficult to see you. As such, out of your causeless mercy only, you have agreed to come here and be visible by us who are generally influenced by the qualities of ignorance and passion. My dear Lord, we belong to the Dict or demon categories. As such, all the demons or demoniac persons, the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, the Charanas, the Jakshas, the Rakshasas, the Pishachas, the ghosts and the hobgoblins are incapable by nature to worship you or to become your devotees. On the contrary, instead of becoming your devotees, all of them simply impediments on the path of devotion. But just opposite them, you are Supreme Personality of Godhead, representing all the Vedas, situated in the uncontaminated modes of goodness. Your position is always transcendental. For this reason, some of us, although born of the modes of passion and ignorance, have taken the shelter of your lotus feet and become devotees. Some of them are actually pure devotees, and some of them, being desirous of gaining something out of your devotion, taken shelter of your lotus feet. So, by your causeless mercy only, we, demons, are in direct contact with your personality, which is not possible even by the great demigods. Therefore, nobody knows how you act through your Jogomaya potency. Even great demigods cannot calculate about the expansive activities of your internal potency and how it is possible for us to know it. And therefore, I place my humble prayer to you that you may be kind enough upon me. Please fully surrender unto you. Favor me with your causeless mercy so that I may simply remember your lotus feet birth after birth. My only ambition is that I may live alone, just like the Paramahansas, who depend simply upon your lotus feet and travel alone here and there in great peace of mind. I also desire that if I have to associate with somebody else, they may be only your pure devotees and nobody else, because your pure devotees are always well-wishers of all people and living entities. And dear Lord, you are the Supreme Master and Director of the whole world. Please therefore engage me in your service and thus let me become free from all material contamination. You can purify me in that way, because if someone engages himself in pure devotion to the loving service of your Lordship, immediately he becomes free from all kinds of regulative principles enjoined in the Vedas. Listen close. The word Paramahansa above mentioned means the supreme swan. It is said that the swan can split up milk from its watery contents and takes only the milk portion and rejects the watery portion. Similarly, a person who can split up a spiritual portion of this material world and thus lives alone, depending on the Supreme Spirit without any dependence on the material world. Such person is called Paramahansa. When one achieves the stage of Paramahansa platform, he is no longer under the regulative principles of Vedic injunction. A Paramahansa accepts only the association of pure devotees and rejects others who are too much materially addicted. In other words, those who are materially addicted, they cannot understand the value of Paramahansa. But those who are fortunate, advanced in spiritual sense, take shelter of such Paramahansa, thus successfully complete the mission of human life. That's why when Lord Kṛṣṇa heard the prayers of Bali Maharaj, he began to speak as follows within quotation. My dear, the king of the demons, in the millennium of the Sambhava Manu, the Prajapati, known as Marichi, begot 6 sons in the womb of his wife called by the name Urni. All of the 6 sons were demigods. Once upon a time, when Lord Brahma became captivated by the beauty of his daughter, he was following her, impelled by sex desire. At that time, these 6 demigods, at the action of Lord Brahma, in abhorrence. This criticism of Brahma's action by the demigods was a great offense on their part, and for this reason they were condemned to take birth as the sons of demon Hiranyakasipu. All these sons of Hiranyakasipu were thereafter brought in the womb of the mother Devaki. As soon as they took their birth, Kṛṣṇa killed them one after another. The king of the demons, I may inform you that Mother Devaki is very much anxious to see again these dead 6 sons, and she is very much aggrieved on account of their early death caused by Kṛṣṇa. I know all of them are living with you. I have decided to take all of them with me in order to pacify my mother Devaki. After seeing my mother, all these 6 conditioned souls will be liberated, thus they will be transferred to their original planet in great pleasure. The names of these 6 conditioned souls are as follows: Smara, Udgita, Parishanga, Patanga, Khudravit, and Grini. They will be again reinstated in their former position as demigods, etc. Lord Kṛṣṇa stopped speaking further after informing the king of demons. Holy Maharaj understood the purpose of the Lord. He worshipped him sufficiently, and thereafter Lord Kṛṣṇa and Lord Balarāma took away the 6 conditioned souls under him and returned back in the city of Dwarka and presented them before his mother Devaki as a small little baby. Mother Devaki, just after seeing them, became overwhelmed with joy, and she was so much ecstatic in motherly feeling that immediately milk began to flow out of her breast, and she fed the babies with great satisfaction. She began to take them on her lap again and again. She was smelling their heads, thinking that he had got back her lost children. For the time being, she became overpowered by the Vishnu energy in great motherly affection, began to enjoy the company of her lost children. The milk out of the breast of Devaki was transcendental nectarine, because the same milk was sucked by Lord Kṛṣṇa. As such, the babies who sucked the breast of Devaki, who touched the body of Lord Kṛṣṇa, became immediately self-realized persons. As such, immediately they began to offer their obeisances unto Lord Kṛṣṇa, Balarāma, their father Vasudeva and mother Devaki. After this, immediately they were transferred to their respective heavenly planets. When they departed, Devaki became struck with wonder how her dead children came back and again were transferred to their respective planets. We could adjust the things only by thinking of Lord Kṛṣṇa's pastime, which can perform anything wonderful, because Lord Kṛṣṇa's potencies are all inconceivable. Without accepting the inconceivable, unlimited potencies of the Lord, nobody can understand that Lord Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Soul and his potencies are unlimited. By his unlimited potencies, he has got unlimited pastimes also, and nobody can describe them in full. Neither anyone can know all of them. As such, Suta Goswami was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam before the sages in the Misharanya. He is verdict in this connection as follows: he addressed the great sages headed by Shaunak and said, great sages headed by Shaunak Rishi, please understand that transcendental pastimes of Lord Kṛṣṇa are all eternal. They are not ordinary narration or historical incidences. The characteristics of such narrations are as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone, therefore, who hears such narrations of Lord's pastimes become immediately freed from the contamination of material existence. What to speak of those who are pure devotees, because they enjoy such narration as if nectar entering through their oral reception. Such narrations were prescribed by Supreme Goswami, the exalted son of Vasudeva. Anyone who hears them or anyone who describes them for fearing by others, such person's consciousness becomes Krishnaized, and all of them become Krishna conscious. Such Krishna conscious persons only become eligible for going back to home, back to Godhead. Quotation close. Next paragraph. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the chapter 65 in the matter of spiritual instruction for Vasudeva and return of 6 dead sons of Devaki by Lord Kṛṣṇa.